We are back, people. What is up? Going over the Senior Bowl, a little Senior Bowl preview today. Obviously, it's going to happen next week. We'll be doing a lot of streams next week to go over like practices and stuff like that. But today I want to go through like some guys I think to just keep an eye out for. I've been watching as many Senior Bowl prospects as I could over the recent time. I still have, a decent amount to get through, but I've seen a lot of them. I think there's a lot of decent players here. Dolphins, have some coaches coaching at the Senior Bowl too, so they have an up close look at certain groups. I believe in the DB and O line specifically. We'll go through those groups and things like that. It should be fun. Senior Bowl is always a good time. I think Dolphins took, Patrick Paul and Jalen Wright were from the Senior Bowl last year, and then Malik Washington was a Shrine Bowl guy, and the Shrine Bowl is happening right now. I know there's been some like Shrine Bowl standouts, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that too. But love the All-Star games part of the year. It's always a big part of the process. Like people's stock will raise a lot. Some people maybe we haven't even talked about a bunch. Some people that maybe are seen as day 3 guys bump up to day 2 guys up to day 1. Some guys might, lose some things. Their stock may lower, but yeah, we'll get into all of that. Did I let people get in here? Let me check, make sure everything is good. Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm just going based off the recent Senior Bowl's Twitter when they posted their groups. So I just want to, they posted their defensive backs first, it looks like. So we'll go through the defensive backs groups and some of the guys I like. I haven't had a chance to watch every single Senior Bowl prospect yet, but I've seen a lot of these guys and definitely. So starting with the DB room, we'll start with the American defensive backs. Is the American and National. American has a few guys I like. They have the 2 UCF kids, which I just started watching the UCF kids recently. There's Brandon BJ Adams, and then there's Mac McWilliams. They also have Trey Amos, Maxwell Hairston, Andrew Makuba. Those are like some names for sure to watch for. We'll talk about them in detail as well. And I think there's some guys that I'm like, oh, these guys, and there's certain like drills, like there's a lot of like one-on-one drills, and there's guys that just have a skill set that fit better for that. Like once we get to the receivers, like we'll look at receivers and I'm like, oh, those receivers are going to dominate one-on-ones because they're quick twitch route runners. And those guys' stocks are going to be raised, like Jalen Noel, things like that. And then they'll look at D line and O line that I think will do better on one-on-ones. Those guys will probably get raised up too. And it'll be interesting to see, like, I want to see like Makuba. We'll talk about Makuba first because I made a tweet about him. Makuba, not the biggest safety in the world. I'm excited to see him in some one-on-one man drills, especially versus tight ends, because he's a safety and he's one of my favorite prospects to watch. I actually think Antoine Winfield Jr. is a pretty good comp for him. He started his career at Clemson this past year, transferred to Texas, and like really broke out for Texas. But he's just like one of those like sort of undersized safeties that's just super instinctive, good athleticism, like plays with closing speed, instincts, quick twitch to get in and out of breaks. Like he can play, he's versatile as well. Like he can move all around the formation. I think deep zone coverages, I really like him as like a split field safety, quarters, cover 2 type thing. He can do some middle of the field stuff as well. But like underneath zone, like he has some insane interceptions, man. Like some really standout work from him. Also just like seems like the ball just always, there's certain safeties like sometimes they like make great plays on the ball, but then there's also certain safeties like somehow they're just in the right position and the ball just bounces to them. Makubo is like one of those guys. He'll make some plays that like he really makes the big time play, but then there's some that just bounce right to him, which is always nice. He's a very willing run support guy. He'll miss some tackles with, being undersized, things like that. But I love seeing like that downhill aggressive play style. And like he doesn't really have an injury history. Usually like smaller guys that play like super aggressive like that. Some guys like have like extensive history in injury histories. He didn't really. But just very smart player. Passes things off. Good job reading concepts. His peripheral vision's very good. He finds stuff. He's not just covering grass. Like that's a guy for sure to watch at the Senior Bowl. Like second round area. Dolphins have a huge need at safety, especially at this point with no free agency happening yet. Makuba, especially in this group, there's like a group of 6 here. He's like for sure the biggest. because he's in a group with Caleb Bransaw, Quincy Riley, Upton Stout, Dante Trader Jr., and Hunter Wohler. He's definitely the best guy in that group. Like, the other guys are all like mostly day 3 guys, maybe even some UDFAs. So he'll have a big chance to stand up there. But Kuba, he needs to eat. Yeah, I don't mind. I have never minded a smaller safety. Like, some of my favorite prospects ever were like Antoine Winfield Jr., Buda Baker, and those guys are very good players in the league. But they played bigger than their size. That's the big thing. Like, and I think Makuba's kind of in that same vein. Like, he plays pretty big for his size. He plays very aggressive, which is always nice to see. Love that. Another defensive back group this is a group: Brandon Adams, Trey Amos, Billy Bowman Jr., Maxwell Hairston, Dan Jackson, and Mac McWilliams. This is actually a pretty good group. There's a few guys here I think they should watch out for. Probably Trey Amos and Maxwell Hairston are guys I could see going pretty high. And I think corner's one of those positions where I think it's maybe not the biggest need for the Dolphins. Is I guess that they could potentially not put a lot into it, but I do think it is like one of those sneaky sort of things, especially after free agency, that they might need to go after. Especially because I could see Ramsey doing more like nickel type things. They need someone on the outside. And Dolphins, I'm looking for guys that can play cover 3, because Dolphins' highest coverage rate last year was cover 3. So we're looking out for some cover 3 guys under Weaver. Also, obviously, man skills. And I think Trey Amos is one of those guys. He has a lot of experience. He's played in both man and zone, different systems. He's got good length, athleticism. Looks very comfortable in like that cover 3, because he's got the length, athleticism to be like a cover 3 guy. Could also match up in man-to-man. Good ball skills, on-ball production. He's out of Ole Miss. He's a guy I'm looking for. I think, let me look at what his... They haven't done official measurements yet, but it looks like he's going to be around like the 6 foot 190 range. Maybe like, but he's got like solid length to him. Same with like Maxwell Hairston, a little bit like long, lanky, maybe more of a lean frame, but he plays for Kentucky. I've seen him play outside and inside. Like, he's a very instinctive corner. I really like his ability in zone. Maxwell Hairston, Kentucky. Listed at like 6'1", 185. We'll see what his official measurements end up being, but good ball skills. I like his arm length, instincts, like short area quickness as well. I think there's some man issues that I've seen him have, maybe technique-wise. But if you're going to be like a zone-heavy scheme, he's a guy to keep an eye out for. And I think he could do... Like, the Dolphins didn't run man at a super high rate. So he's someone to watch out for. Lime Tree, are you talking about... Are you talking about on the Dolphins? Or are you talking about Fuller? Because, yeah, Fuller did have some... And Fuller has an out in his contract. So, that's another thing. Like, if they move on from Fuller, because they might want to save cap, and they think maybe injury problems... That creates an even, more of a need at corner. And then Ko, who's a restricted free agent, but you're probably trying to upgrade on him. And he's your nickel. And then you have some guys that are like maybe decent depth guys, but not guys you want to rely on to start behind that. So like, I think corner can be just one of those positions they might target. We could also go like, I don't know if you guys saw Daniel Jeremiah's mock, but he posted a mock, and Daniel Jeremiah is very tapped in. Obviously, he's a part of that scouting community. He has a lot of sources. Very interesting with like how his mock played out. He actually had Tyler Warren going 7th overall to the Jets. That's something to notice. But he had like Tyler Booker and Armand Membo went 10 and 11. So like 2 O-linemen gone before the Dolphins even picked. And he had the Dolphins taking Kelvin Banks Jr. I know people have been saying like Kelvin Banks probably won't be there when the Dolphins pick. I actually think if like you read the signs, like, like it seems like people are kind of becoming lower and lower on him. Other guys are getting raised up. And if you really look at like the people who are tapped in and have like NFL sources that are making mock drafts, it seems Banks is gradually dropping. So like, I think just reading the signs, I wouldn't be surprised if Banks is there at 13. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there and the Dolphins pass on him. But he still had like Will Johnson went 15, corner from Michigan. Like, he has people dropping. Like, he had Jalen Walker went 16. He had Nick Emenwari, the South Carolina safety, go 20, and Malachi Starks went 24. So Starks was even the first safety off the board. So those are just like interesting things to point out. Yeah, Duck and Bonner are fine to have his depth. But like Duck didn't play that good in his snaps last year. Like, I mean, for an undrafted rookie, it's like, what are you expecting? But it wasn't like horrible. But he's not a guy you want to rely on to start. I still prefer Bonner seeing playing time if that was where it had to go. But corner is one of those positions I think they kind of have a sneaky need at. And I like the corners from UCF. Two guys that I just watched recently. We haven't really talked about. Mac McWilliams and Brandon Adams. I think Mac McWilliams, they both played on the outside, but Mac McWilliams has like nickel potential because he's a little bit on the smaller side. He's more in like that 5'9", 5'10" range, like 180. But let me see, where's my notes on him? Yeah, he's a guy like smooth just in coverage overall, but very comfortable in zone. He's aggressive. He's a very aggressive player. Aggressive jam and press. Quick feet. He throws fake jams. He throws like nuance with like throw off, release timing, stuff like that. Very scrappy player. Smooth in pedal. He has the speed to carry vertically, which makes me think like, okay, he does have to play outside. Like I think he has enough speed to carry vertically. He has that man in zone versatility, which is always helpful. It makes you scheme versatile. So like any team can be interested in him. Not the biggest guy, but has that nickel experience. But plays physical enough to make up for some of that lack of size. And I've seen like recovery ability. I do really like Mac McWilliams from UCF. And I think the other UCF corner actually has some good things too. He's got better size and length, but he's more of like a press man boundary corner. While McWilliams can do some press man stuff, but he's more of like versatile with zone and stuff. Well, Adams, if you want to play press man, you need a press man corner, you look at him. So both of those guys, I think, could have some pretty solid days in those 101 drills. And it'll be tough. Like, corners will have losses in 101 drills, but because it is more of a receiver drill that gets to shine. But yeah, that is definitely groups to watch for. Go here. Okay, so this next group is actually important for... Make sure I got this right. This next group is actually coached by a Dolphins coach. So these are guys that we'll have like a very close look at. And it actually has some of the guys that I really like at DB. It's still like so early in the process, like things change. But this group right here. So Sebastian Castro, who I just rewatched recently. Safety, Iowa. He does like nickel stuff. We'll talk about him. Tommy Hill. He's like the one in the group I don't really know anything about from Nebraska. But then there's Maxon Hook. Toledo safety, he's like a box safety, physical, good size, but maybe limited athlete. Then there's a guy I really like, Bilhal Cone, Western Michigan. We'll really break down him. I like him a lot. And then Jacob Parrish, Kansas State, another guy I really like. So like I really like Castro, Cone, and Parrish. There's also a guy named Lane, the third here from Navy. Very good special teams player in this class. But yeah, I think Adams the Darkest, I brought him up a couple weeks ago because of you bringing him local. Yeah, I like both UCF kids, Mac McWilliams and Brandon Adams. But this group right here that I just talked about, Castro, Cone, and Parrish, they're all being coached by Deshaun Sheed, who's Dolphins DB coach. There's also some other names here that are interesting, but those are like the main three I want to talk about. I've made a video on Parrish recently. It will be out for everyone to see soon enough. But he is like an undersized guy, listed at like 5'10", 180. But this guy, like, think Mikey Sainer still. If you watched him from Michigan last year, another undersized guy who's playing right well for Washington. You'll see him later today. He's going to have a tough matchup, but he is like a guy that can, I think, will probably be, guys will want him to move him to the nickel, but I think there's enough for him to still play on the outside if necessary. But like feisty man coverage guy, super scrappy. You want a guy that can play man, route anticipation and man, whether it's off man, press man. He has such a good feel in man coverage. Zone is not as good. I do think he's better in like an underneath zone than like playing deeper zone stuff. So I think that's why nickel would fit him there. But like good ball skills. Has some limited longs, like that limited size. But I think he has enough speed to carry vertically. And he's just a dog. Like you want dogs on your team. Jacob Parrish is a guy that play as a dog. Gives me Mikey Sainer still vibes. But probably is more of a man cover guy than Mikey was. And Mikey was a little bit better in zone. What's up, Grant? How you doing? Yeah, I'm ready for some football. You didn't get the notification? Interesting. I don't know why sometimes it does stuff and doesn't. But Hustling the Rams when they got Taylor Rapp. Fangio was a monster loss. Yeah, I mean, the problem with like Fangio's problem with Miami was never his scheme. Like I always talked about, like Fangio was a good coach. It just didn't work out with Miami, and it just seemed like he didn't want to be here. And I don't think the players liked him. Obviously, there's questions to have with that, but clearly they built the type of players he want in Philadelphia, and that's how you got to do it. But yeah, to continue talking about Cone, Bahal Cone, I really like Cone from Western Michigan. I'm excited to see him in drills. But let's see, where's my notes? Cone. Got good size to him. He's lengthy and athletic. He's another guy that I think can play man and zone. Like I think he's got good zone instincts. I've seen him carry, take away throwing lanes, play with good leverage. I like his ball skills, which are very good, which makes it like with length and stuff like that. He just has all the traits I look for. And then he has like sometimes with like these lengthy, longer guys, they don't have great hips and fluidity. His hips and fluidity are so good. I'm gonna make a video on him soon too. But like very fluid, long, athletic, can make plays in man and zone. Like that's the type of guy you're looking for. He can play press, get physical with you at the line, but then also has the feet to mirror and match you, open up his hips, change directions, and then zones, play with like good eyes, good feel for where route concepts are coming from. He's a guy I really like. I don't know where he's going to go in the draft. I haven't seen too much talk about him yet. But like to me, from what I've seen compared to a lot of this corner class, like I think he should be like a day 2 guy. I think him and Parrish. And then we'll talk about Castro. Castro is the Iowa kid. Let's show a play actually. I actually have, I'll show, this one's from Twitter. Here he is in like the nickel. Iowa's playing in quarters. He's like the flat defender in quarters. Look at him get physical, carry this route out of the flat. And that's on Emeka Egbuka. Get physical, carry. He's a very instinctive player that I think if he does play, he is more of a big nickel, strong safety type, very instinctive guy. A guy that you don't mind having on your team. Like he makes a lot of good plays versus screens. Like he's a downhill player, good trigger. Like his run defensibility. So like he's a guy in the box that can play in run fits. I think he's an older prospect. He's been with Iowa for a while. He has a pretty good like feel in man coverage, but I don't think he has like quite the athleticism where you want him to play man a ton of times. Sometimes can be over aggressive when making tackles, which can make it, but like spatial awareness there, aware of play flow. I think he's got solid like short area burst, underneath zone, squeezing lanes, disrupting the timing. I think if you find that like type of player on day 3, I would like that, but yeah, we'll see. You know anything about the Iowa State safety Burden? I don't think I've watched him. Let me see. Iowa State. Malik Verdon? No, I haven't seen him yet. I'll put him down. I've watched the Iowa State receivers. I haven't watched their defense yet. I don't know. I've never done anything like with the whole like I don't click anything to like make like live notifications. I think that's just like a YouTube issue. I'm sure they could find some guys. I mean, there will always be potential starters on day 3. It just becomes very thinned out. That's where you got to be very good at drafting. Yeah, that is that group. Talked about the Daniel Jeremiah mock a little bit. If you guys missed that. Another group here. This one's pretty solid as well. This one has Malik Verdon in it. Oh, so Verdon is like, okay, he's a safety that's 6'4", 215. So like clearly he's got some physical skills. I've seen the other Iowa State guy, Darian Porter, a little bit. Another big body guy, like he's listed out here like about 6'3", 190, long, lengthy. I think he's just a little stiff. He's not my favorite fit. I wonder if he would actually even be a little bit better at safety. But like he's long, lengthy, has a lot of special teams experience from my understanding, has like played a decent amount of that. He has like some good recovery speed, but he seems like a cover 3 corner, which The Dolphins do run a lot of cover 3, but I was thinking more of like the old school Seattle cover 3 where they like run 3 match. Think of what they did with like the Legion of Boom, like what Pete Carroll did. Some other good guys here. Jonas Sinker, made a video on him. We've talked about him a decent amount. Really like Sinker as like a potential day 3 safety. Another guy with solid size, solid athleticism, just all around skill set. Makes a lot of. He's a very consistent tackler, smart, technically sound, plays good top down. I don't think he's like a middle field safety guy, but he can play pretty much everywhere else. Kevin Winston is also a very good prospect, but he does have the injury concerns. Dorian Strong, you want a zone safe or zone corner in this class out of Dorian Strong out of Virginia Tech. Very good zone corner, like solid instincts, length, athleticism. I think sometimes he can play too high and struggles like to flip his hips smoothly. But, like his zone corner spatial awareness stuff, like that's all. Like that's what Dorian Strong does very, very well, and it'll be interesting. He might struggle in some of these drills if he has to play man to man fully, but yeah. Guy I really want to see in drills is Azariah Thomas, the Florida State corner. I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but another guy with his size, length, man coverage ability. So that's where it's like you want to see. This is where he could potentially raise his stock because he is a man cover guy that's long, got very good length, aggressive. I think his ball skills are a bit questionable, but he has recovery and long speed to get back in position. He can be a little handsy, but like for his size, I think he's got good quick twitch. But yeah, apparently some GM has him as like a first rounder too. Because I forget who said that, but one of the shows I listen to that has like former scouts, he talked to a GM and he has him listed as a first rounder. How do you feel about Malachi Moore? Well, I've seen Malachi Moore play, and I was gonna watch him, but apparently he's one of the players that is not playing in the Senior Bowl, so I just didn't get around to him yet. Because let's see, these are the guys that accepted invites but aren't playing, like Noel Williams, Cal Corner, he's at the Shrine Bowl, Malachi Moore, Xavier Watts, Lathan Ransom, Kyron Lacey, Savion Williams, Taryn Ingram Dawkins, Walter Nolan, Ty Hamilton, Chase Lunt, Charles Grant, which I really wanted to see him play, Tate Ratledge, Seth McLaughlin, Jordan Birch, Tyreen Powell, and Carson Schwessinger. Those are guys who aren't listed on the rosters, but they were guys that accepted invites, so it seems like they might have backed out, so I just didn't end up watching him. What did I say that? I want to see him in coverage. I watched an analysis on draft. It shows how the NFL follows on exact production versus value curve. The data is insane. It shows how the NFL follows an exact production versus value curve. Yeah, that would be. I don't know what the data is, but it does sound like would be interesting. But yeah, Thomas, gotta watch. Some good DBs here. That's the defensive back roster. Let's scroll up. Some receivers. This is a nice receiver group. Alec Ayaminor, Jack Besh, Ty Felton, and I don't know if his name is the Florida receiver, Shamir. And then there's Brew McCoy, Jamal Pritchett, Jalen Royals, Aaron Smith. I like these a decent amount of these guys. Alec Ayaminor, if the Dolphins want to take a receiver on day 2 that can just go out, like, and you need like a physical X that can block and he's a pretty good athlete, like I think Ayaminor and Jack Besh are like those guys that are like bigger body receivers, and Ayaminor blocks his ass off. Stanford player. Not as productive this year, but like his quarterback play is horrible. If you go back to his 2023 play, like he absolutely was just torching Travis Hunter in Colorado. I think he has a limited route tree, but the routes he does run, he runs them pretty well, like slants, like hitches. He's more on like the vertical plane outside of that. Good spatial awareness. I think he's one of the guys that would fit what Miami does. I've talked about Jack Besh a lot. One of my favorite fits in this class for the Dolphins. So I don't need to spend too much time there. But Jack Besh, one of my guys. Very excited to see him there. It's kind of where I wanted to spend. I think the other guy, the Shamir guy, the Florida guy, is more of like a late round undrafted type player. Not the most athletic, but seems like he has a good feel for play. And then Felton is another name that's not too bad in that 4 right there. I don't have his name right now. Oh, yeah, it's right here. But he's a nice guy that's like got some like shiftiness to him, good after the catch, some tracking ability. But it's really more Besh and Amanor out of those first four that are like really good fits for what the Dolphins need. And the other guy is Brew McCoy, bigger body guy, but he should be like a very late round pick if they wanted to add a receiver. Not bad in the later areas. And then Jalen Royals. I think Jalen Royals is just a solid day 2 receiver in this class. Utah State, very well rounded. I feel like the one sort of weakness I saw, like inconsistency on tape, was like some inconsistencies in contested situations. But outside of that, I thought he was good with the ball in his hands, had good hands in non-contested, good route runner, can play inside, outside, can work deep, plays with good body control, tracking. He has timing and tempo of his routes. He's very good through contact. I think it's a big part of his game. Like he is a physical guy through contact, but can also be like a burner, which is nice to see. Yeah, no Ratledge kind of sucks. It's just, I think a lot of the guys that were playing in the championship game and then also guys that were playing in like the playoffs decided to back out because they had been playing more recently. But some decent receivers there. This group, there's Pat Bryant, Daquan Felton, Jaden Higgins, Tez Johnson, with Jalen Lane, Jalen Noel, Xavier Restrepo, Kyle Williams. Pat Bryant's not too bad, pretty intriguing. I haven't watched Daquan Felton yet, but he's like 6'4", 216. I have seen clips of him, and I know Felton like is a blocker. So you want a day 3 blocking receiver, probably him. Jaden Higgins is a name that's intriguing, like as an X receiver. He runs like, bro, it's just Jaden Higgins makes a lot of catches. I just don't think he's athletic enough for like me to really like him. He doesn't really, like, he runs good routes and can get open in certain situations, but like there's not enough separation for me. Like he has limited athleticism, limited speed and burst to separate. So to me, he's a day 3 guy. But he is the type of receiver the Dolphins are kind of looking for. Tez Johnson, very undersized, like 5'10", 160, but he's like the Tank Dell type of this class. He would fit with the Dolphins, like he fits the Dolphins system, but he's not exactly what I think the Dolphins need. They don't need that undersized type. Same with Jalen Noel. Jalen Noel is another receiver that I really like in this class, Iowa State. I'll probably make a video on him. I don't know, he's not exactly what the Dolphins are looking for because he's a little undersized, but like quick twitch route runner that understands how to use tempo. He can play slot and Z receiver. Can press, like stretch the field vertically, and like some of the nuance he had, like in acceleration. I would like to see him be a little bit better through contact. I've seen him have some drops, but like he's a good tracker of the football. That's a player I really like. I just don't think he's the perfect fit. Same with Restrepo, Noel, Tez Johnson, all guys that would fit what the Dolphins do. It's just, I think they need more X or big slots, and those guys aren't that. Same with Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams is another guy out of Washington State that I think is a sleeper, day 3 guy. I've seen some stuff at the East-West Shrine Bowl. I've seen like CJ West looks pretty good, like the I believe Indiana defensive tackle, like, you know, kind of like a shorter guy, but plays with like power, natural leverage, very like sort of disruptive forward. I saw another guy, Syracuse receiver Jackson Meeks, looks interesting because he's got size and some route running ability. I know Luke Lachey is there, Lachey, the Iowa tight end. I like him a lot as a prospect. He's had some injury problems, but like Iowa tight ends usually produce. He's just a really good receiving route running tight end. And I'm looking for more of an inline Y guy that can block for the Dolphins team, but he is a guy I like as a prospect. And those are just some. And there was a UNC corner that looked interesting. He plays like special teams, nickel. Eastern Washington has a slot receiver that's interesting. Jordan Phillips, interior defensive line. Another Jordan Phillips that plays D-line. But Maryland, he's an interesting name to know as well. Those are just some guys that I've seen so far from this Shrine Bowl that are definitely intriguing names. Let me get it up. That's more Senior Bowl stuff. D-line, Darius Alexander in this group that I like, and Aeneas Peebles, and Ty Robinson. Also throw Landon Jackson in there because Landon Jackson's like a 6'7", 280 guy. He plays edge for Arkansas, but he's like a guy that's versatile, play both spots, but very long, very like good usage of hands. I just think there's some inconsistencies at times that come with being that tall. It's just he plays too high, and there's some inconsistent technique, but like you want a guy with like length, versatility, hands, has some productivity out of Arkansas. That's a guy. Aeneas Peebles, another guy that's undersized, like 6'1", 280, but like productive pass rusher. Absolutely insane. Let me look up what Ty Robinson's listed at height size wise. Because they have some pretty different numbers here. But he's another guy that's like Ty Robinson. He's Nebraska, but I like him as well. Defensive lineman that has some nice first step quickness, good hand usage. I think he just has some consistencies with like a repertoire, but man, he has like those reps where you can really see him dominating. The D-line group is definitely interesting. I'm excited to see a lot of those guys in 101s. Jackson, Peebles, Ty Robinson, and then Darius Alexander, the Toledo defensive tackle. And I like he's more of a run defense guy that I like. But yeah, that's a pretty solid group. Interesting. Oh, Trey Rucker got invited. I may have. Okay. Nope. I already saw that group. Trying to find the next D-line-ish group. Oh yeah, the other D-line group. Alfred Collins. This is a guy that I think could fit exactly with the Dolphins because he's a like listed at like 6'5", 6'6", like 320-ish. We'll see what his exact measurements are, but man, he carries that weight well. You want a guy that just can play as like a one tech, hold his own at the point of attack. Like if Calais Campbell retires and you need like a day 2 D tackle, because the Dolphins are going to need D tackle, but like very hard to move in the run game. And with how many teams are like really prioritizing run game stuff. And I think he's athletic enough, just great play strength. And he doesn't have like, he's an impact day 1 run defender, Alfred Collins, Texas. Pass rushing leaves some things to be desired, but like I think he has enough athleticism and like enough of a physical skill set to where like if he can improve his like repertoire and feel as a pass rusher, like man, he could be really good at the next level. But like I do expect him to be like an interesting or an right away impact as a run defender. Is Savion? I think Savion wasn't listed in the groups, so I don't think he was. He accepted an invite, but I don't think he's going to be participating. Which I think it would have been. I don't know. He's one of the guys that like I actually think might have he would have either like been a big boom at the Senior Bowl or huge like bust type at the Senior Bowl because he's sort of like a flashy athlete, but he has some things to be desired as a route runner, but like he flashes them. So could he flash it more consistently? That'd be interesting. This group also has Omar Norman Lott, Tennessee guy, another sort of like explosive 3-tech type. You want a pass rush guy that's Omar Norman Lott. But the only problem I think with Norman Lott is he averaged like 17 snaps a game for Tennessee. So like he doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires. That's like one positive way to look at it, but it's also like, why didn't he play a ton of snaps? To keep him fresh? Who knows? This group is also interesting. There's TJ Sanders, another 3-tech, South Carolina. Shamar Turner, the Texas A&M guy, versatile. Another sort of, I think he was like a 5-star athlete. Him and like Shamar Turner, both from Texas A&M, but Turner is like the D tackle, more of a player. But explosive, good mover. I think he just kind of needs to put it more together traits wise. So it'll be interesting to see those guys. Same with Deion Walker. I really want to see like Deion Walker and Turner and like those 1-on-1 drills and see how dominant they can be, because those guys could really raise their stocks with a dominant Senior Bowl, because there's some inconsistencies on their film that I think the Senior Bowl could really help them specifically. Which CBs represent value pick at 13? I would say Will Johnson, Hunter obviously, but he's not going to be there. I would say at 13, Will Johnson, Siobhan Ravel, the Eastern ECU corner, would actually not be that bad value at 13. And then I'm going to have Jahdae Barron around there too. And if you look at Daniel Jeremiah's mock, he had Barron going 14th. So I don't think it's that crazy. And he had Will Johnson going 15. I don't think any of those guys would be like reaches at 13. I don't know if they'd be the best picks. It depends who's on the board. But I like all those guys in that sort of range. Ravel just has a knee injury, but Ravel's a dog from ECU, man. You want long, athletic playmaker, can play press, has zone ability, great recovery speed, great ball skills. He's a guy that's going to be really good at the next level if he stays healthy. Why can I not find what I'm looking for? But yeah, that's like the sort of... Yeah, I like Barron a lot. Barron is like... Jade Barron is like... If you look for players in this class that are my types of players, like Barron is one of those guys. Like I really like versatility, which he's a very versatile player. He plays corner, nickel. I've seen him play dime linebacker. I've seen him play safety. I very much value versatility. And then I also value like highly instinctive players with there has to be a balance of instincts, versatility, athleticism, and just being a dog. You don't have to be the biggest player for me, honestly. But if you're a dog with athleticism and instincts, I'll take you all day long. I would build my team with guys that have that sort of skill set. They might not be the biggest, but yeah. Are you considering injured guys, Ryder, like Simmons? See, for me at 13, I don't think there's... I think there's enough players where I think Josh Simmons and Siobhan Ravel are very good players, but they would be on my low end of options. I think there's too many options for me to take them at 13. They would be more trade back options. I think there's going to be someone over there that I would take over them. Even though I think they're Simmons and Ravel's film are very good. It's just I'm only taking them if they're clearly best player available on the board. If he falls. I can still see it, Grant. But talking about Fannin Jr., I can answer your question. Fannin Jr. is actually, I am a little lower on Fannin Jr. compared to some. He's actually my tight end 5 in this class. Which I know is a hot take for some people, but I think he's a round 3-ish player, honestly. I know he's very productive, and you got to give that respect at coming out of Bowling Green. I like his ability after the catch. I just think some of the stuff that he did at Bowling Green isn't going to translate as well to the next level. I think he's a little undersized, so I think some of the blocking stuff he won't be able to do necessarily as an inline guy on a consistent basis. I think he plays with toughness, but also he has that the good route. He got schemed a lot of touches. Also, I don't think he's he has obviously he shows the route running ability, but he's not fluid. And I really value fluidity in tight ends. When you're looking at traits, I think hip fluidity. I actually think he's kind of stiff with his movements, which I don't think is a good thing for most tight ends. Especially a guy of his side. For a guy that's undersized. I think he needs to be an elite athlete. He's just not the guy I'm looking for the Dolphins. I don't think he's a bad prospect or anything. I just prefer Warren, Helm, and Taylor over him as for Dolphins. And then I think Loveland is just Loveland's in that same sort of vein of he's not the best fit for the Dolphins, but I think he's a better prospect. So I have Loveland above him. But Loveland's going to be if Loveland ends up in a team that uses him the right way, Loveland's going to be really good. Just not what the Dolphins need. Yeah, it's just, I have him as tight end 5 because I think he's over the rest of the guys, but I prefer Taylor, Helm, and we're about to see a lot of these guys at the Senior Bowl. Some of the guys I like that we'll talk about in a second here. And did I mention that? Yeah, dude, Makuba. I talked about Makuba at the start. He was the first player I talked about. Dude, Makuba is so good. He reminds me of Antoine Winfield Jr. And was I making videos when Antoine Winfield Jr. came out? I was definitely making Twitter stuff. If you're following me on Twitter around that time, I mean, people probably weren't, but I was the biggest. Antoine Winfield Jr. was my guy in that class, which I believe it was the 2020 class, because I was at the Senior Bowl that year, yeah. I remember being at the Senior Bowl. Antoine Winfield Jr. was my guy. That was the year with Justin Herbert was there and stuff. I remember seeing Winfield there. I was like, yep, he's going to be great. I do remember, though, when I was at the Senior Bowl, I remember thinking, I was watching just the most basic wide receiver drills, they were just literally just running like in a box, like a 5-yard box, and they were breaking like just 90, 90, 90, and then catching it. For some reason, Amarius Mims, who ended up being a bust, I remember thinking like, oh, he's going to be a bust just because of this one drill. I didn't really like his film either, but I remember watching this drill and like the 90-degree break at the end, like everyone would run it, and they were jogging, so it wasn't like a hard 90-degree break. He literally would break off at a 45 every time and like not run the drill correctly. And I just remember thinking like, oh, he's gonna be a bust just because of that. Ferguson is one of the day 3 guys I like, yeah, for the Dolphins. But yeah, let's go back to, let's see. Oh yeah, here's the offensive line. Okay, so this is the first offensive line group. I think the Dolphins are a part of the other one, but here's some interesting players. This group has Logan Brown, haven't watched. Garrett Dellinger, Miles Frazier. Miles Frazier, who is a big guy, LSU guard. I actually think he's one of the better guards in the class. I think I have that right. Yeah, Miles Frazier. He's not the exact player I'm looking for Miami because I really want like bully run blockers. But like, dude, that is a very good guy in pass protection, Miles Frazier. Like his ability to pick up stunts is like smart and aggressive. He's a very smart and aggressive pass pro guy. Maybe not the exact player I'm looking for, but like he is a good guard to have. Wouldn't be mad. Emory Jones is also there. Armand Mimbo, I've talked about him. Missouri right tackle, very good player. He's one of the best players at the Senior Bowl, in my opinion. I think he's going to go first round. I think he's going to go in. I've seen the mocks. Daniel Jeremiah has him above Kelvin Banks Jr., and I don't disagree. Monbell's a dog. Then there's some other interesting guys in this group. I think Jared Wilson backed out, so he was like the one center that was like a chance. Carson Vincent, I've seen some things about. He's like a tackle. He's got like insane size to him, but I think he played for like Alabama A&M or something. I don't have film on him, so I haven't watched him yet. But some names here, I think Jonah from Arizona. Savianea is a name to watch. I think this is a big opportunity for him because if he can dominate one-on-ones, I think that would help his stock so much. Because he played right tackle at Arizona. I think he's a guard at the next level. He's a potential like round 3 guy, in my opinion, that can kind of go either direction, round 4, round 2, depending on how the Senior Bowl goes. Jackson Slater, Sacramento State, another intriguing guy that can raise his stock. Some of these like lower school guys like Slater. That's why I think Charles Grant needed to play in this. It looks like he's not playing, which from William and Mary, I think he needed it. But Slater has some interesting traits out of Sacramento State because he has like some run blocking skills. I think he played tackle, but like I think he's working at interior. But he's got movement skills and some nice play strength and physicality. So he's a name to watch out for. Jackson Slater, Sacramento State. Because I don't have a ton of film on the small school guys yet, so I've only been able to see a little bit. So that's why I think the Senior Bowl is going to be very important, at least in my eyes. Can Washington compete if Hill? Okay. I want right guard free agency, James Daniel, Cody Porter Prize, and then the draft tackle to play left guard next to Paul. Definitely a decent strategy to block, catch, and even QB sneak. Yeah, that's the thing. Like they can do like direct snaps to him as well. Like I think that's the thing that people are gonna be looking at. Like you need either a quarterback or some sort of player that you can give direct snaps to, or just underneath snaps for QB sneaks because it helps with like having an extra blocker. I'm very suspect of Banks Jr. because his arm length. Yeah, I'm interested to see what his length comes out to because that will kind of decide on whether he'll be more of a tackle or a guard. I think for the Dolphins, he would be a guard right away, which I think would help him a lot. I also have questions with Banks' balance, but Tyler Warren is still like, the more I get into it, like I would take Warren over Starks, and I would take Warren, I think, over Banks as well at 13. That might be a hot take, but I would take Warren. Now, if it was I'm trying to think of who else. Like Will Campbell would be a question, I think. Would be more of a debate. Trying to think who else would be potential. It is interesting that he had Tyler Booker going 10. Personally, I like Tyler Booker. I just think that's a slight reach. Yeah, Warren will be one of my favorite options. And I think they're either doing measurements. I think they're doing it Monday. So Monday we'll get exact measurements, and that's huge for so many players. Like I want to see Mike Green's measurement, the Marshall kid. I mean, I don't think the Dolphins are gonna be after him, but like he's got a no. Now this is the next offensive line. This is a national team offensive line. Now this first group, the next 6 I'm going to name are all going to be coached by Lemuel Jean-Pierre, which Dolphins O-line coach. Anthony Bellin, who I haven't watched yet, but he's a big guy from NC State. Then Josh Connerly Jr. He is a guy that I see as a tackle at the next level. I think he has the tackle traits. He moves like a tackle. He's built like a tackle. I think he'll go somewhere in the first round. It wouldn't surprise me if the Dolphins really like him. I just don't think I would prefer to take a tackle that can play guard, and I don't think Connerly is quite that. But he is the type of player I think the Dolphins would like. I think he's a scheme fit, Oregon guy, very good athlete. Looked just like he got better and better, plays with good leverage, just very light on his feet. I think he still has I think he has a pretty solid floor, but even like a higher upside because I think he's kind of learning some things. But redirection skills there. I want to see a little more physicality in the run game, but good pass protection work. But Connerly, you get an up close look at him, which I think is not a bad thing. The other Oregon tackles there as well, but not too focused on him. There's Ariante Ursery, the Minnesota tackle. He's a guy that I think is another tackle with a big body, super big, but he's a tackle. I don't think the Dolphins need another tackle that's sort of like a project in the room. That you're already probably starting people who are still kind of trying to develop, I don't think Ursery needs to be involved in that. But then we also get in that group. I'm looking at Connerly Jr. and then these two, Marcus Bowe, Purdue right tackle, and Wyatt Millam. I'm very excited to see what Bowe's arm length is, because Bowe is one of the guys that I have no idea where he should play. I don't know if he should play tackle, because if he doesn't have the arm length, they probably want to move him off tackle, but he doesn't quite have the size where I don't think some teams want to play him at guard. I wouldn't be surprised if some teams want to try him at center, but he's very athletic. He has very nuanced play style. He has such a good understanding of things that are going on. He mixes up his sets very well. He's got great hand usage. Guy moves great in space. I made a video at him. I really like him a lot as a player. So excited that the Dolphins get a close-up look at him. And then Wyatt Millam, West Virginia guy. He plays tackle. He's for sure a guy that I think will play guard at the next level. I don't think he's athletic enough to play tackle. Maybe he could play tackle in a pinch for you if you needed, maybe in games. But he's mostly a guard, day 2 guard somewhere. Yeah, but I actually have notes on him. But overall, pretty good technique, leg drive. Love his ability. I made a video on him too. Solid sustain. Love his displacement, especially on down blocking. Love his ability on combo blocks. Wyatt Millam, Josh Connerly, and Marcus Bowe, I think, are the guys to watch. How do we get? I don't know. I think you just sort of they asked people that they probably were familiar with and maybe were willing to do it. We got 2. I think we have 2. We might have more. I haven't seen every group yet. Would you rather we drafted guard to play guard or transition and tackle? For me, real guards and not tackles are fluency. I think it just depends on the player. I don't have a preference either way. I like versatility, so if a guy can play tackle and guard, I think that's always helpful. But if he's a tackle that I think can play tackle, but I think would he be even better at guard, he has a nastiness to play guard, I would probably prefer that over just a pure guard. Because if he has the nastiness to play guard, then I don't playing tackle will always help. But if they're the pure guard's just better, take the pure guard. But I think in this class specifically, there's not that many pure guards. Most of the guys that are playing guard will be guys that played tackle. And the other group that is on this side, but coached by the Tennessee guy, the only real name that I'm looking at here right now is Gray Zabel. USC center's in there, but I'm not a huge fan. Zabel, I want to see how he sort of weighs in, measures. North Dakota State, another guy that played tackle. at North Dakota State, but will probably play interior. But very athletic. I like his nastiness that he plays with. He's the name to watch. I like Zabel, and I will definitely get his video out on Zabel soon. And then here's the linebacker / edge groups. This is the first one. I think out of this first group, and this is like a mix of linebackers and edges. So like Jared Ivey's an edge, Ole Miss. Then there's 2 South Carolina kids, I think, to potentially, if you want to, keep an eye on someone. Kyle Kennard, he's like a twitched up edge, potentially. I don't think he's necessarily the type of player the Dolphins are looking for. Because I think if they do add an edge, they're looking for someone that's more of like a guy that can play hand in the dirt, more of a big edge, someone that would replace like an Ogba type, but would obviously, hopefully be better than Ogba. But more of like a bigger body guy that can hold his own versus the run. That's not quite Kennard, but there's some players in that class if you want to go down that direction. It's not, wouldn't say it's the biggest need for the Dolphins, but it's not something you can write off. We'll see how it plays out in free agency. Demetrius Knight Jr., or Demetrius Knight II. He is an off-ball linebacker from South Carolina. He is one of the interesting off-ball linebackers in this class. I think he sort of stepped up in certain games in this season that I saw. I think he takes on blocks well. I think he's got good strength and length. He can stack and shed. Overall, like a solid run defender. I think at coverage, he does a decent enough job in coverage, like spot dropping. I don't think he's like a outstanding defender in coverage. But I think if he's like around, personally, I think he's around like 4 guy, like a solid round 4 linebacker. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes a little bit higher than that. But I think he's a decent name to watch that could get drafted by the Dolphins because linebacker is still in need. Then there's they have the Texas A&M kids in this group as well, Nick Score and Shamar Stewart. I'm not a huge Scorton fan. I think the Dolphins will really like Shamar Stewart. He's like the kind of player they're looking for at edge. But I think he probably goes first round, and I just don't think that's the direction I would go. But I wouldn't be surprised if Stewart goes higher than people think because he has all the physical and athletic tools. Like he's a very high upside prospect in this class. Zabel isn't fast enough in the NFL. Maybe I need to see more, but I think Zabel looks athletic enough to play at the NFL level. Maybe he means athletic enough to play tackle. But I think he's definitely athletic enough to play guard. Yeah, I don't think Schlesinger is. He got invited and he accepted, but it looks like Schlesinger is not in any of the listed groups, so he might not be competing, which kind of sucks. All backers are coverage. What do you mean? To be just for stopping the run, but not. Yeah, he's a fine spot dropper. I'm not the biggest. Like I've seen some people be like super high in Demetrius Knight. Like I have him in round 4, so I'm not as high as I think some people have him in day 2. But I don't think he's a bad prospect. I mean, he's definitely a guy to watch out for. I want to see how he looks in some of these coverage drills. But yeah. Let me go back to this. This group's pretty interesting. So we're still in the linebacker / edge group. They actually have 2 in this linebacker / edge group. They have 2 guys that are safeties listed here. Justin Barron from Syracuse, who's 6'3", 230 as a safety, and then Keandre Jackson, who's 6'2", 218, from Illinois State. Those are like guys who like Barron played basically like a linebacker safety hybrid for Syracuse, from what I saw. And he's also played a lot of special team snaps. So that's a guy that probably gets drafted somewhere on day 3 because of his versatility, and he's played special teams a lot. And the Keandre Jackson, everything from I've seen of him is he's a big hitter at safety. So it'll be interesting that he's playing with that group. Then there's also some like the twitched up pass rushers like Donovan Ezeriaku from Boston College, Mike Green. Those guys probably 2 of the better twitched up pass rushers in the class. But not too much to go there. David Walker, actually. I like David Walker. Why am I forgetting the name of the school he went to? But it's one of this. I think is it Eastern Washington? It is. Let's see. No, it's not Eastern. He went to Central Arkansas. That's what it was. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. But he is an interesting edge defender. Like, he was crazy productive at Central Arkansas. Like, his production was insane. He's an edge guy that plays with some good, like, athletic. Like, he dominated rushing the passer, man. Speed to power, good hand usage. He has some of the most dominant reps that I saw. Obviously, I want to see. That's why I think the Senior Bowl is big for him, because you get to see him with higher competition. Also in this group, RJ Oben, Notre Dame, interesting. Josiah Stewart, another twitched up edge rusher. But then Cody Lindenberg, the Minnesota linebacker. I think, Scotty, you were asking me about Lindenberg. I did get a chance to finally watch Lindenberg. I think he's another sort of day 3 linebacker. I think there's solid play recognition. I think he's a guy that likes to shoot downhill. I think he showed some decent ability to, like, gain depth and coverage. I think one of his biggest problems, though, is for a guy that has, like, his build, I would have liked to see him be better at taking on blocks and stacking and shedding. I think he struggled to disengage, which definitely made me lower on him. Because if you're not a guy that's like a super athlete or like a super computer that can get to these spots so fast, you got to be able to take people on at the point of attack, which I think he struggled with. You mentioned Henderson out of Old Dominion. I have not. Henderson, Old Dominion. I don't think I've seen anything on him yet. Is it Jason Henderson? Is he? I don't think he's in any of the lists I've seen. I'll definitely check him out. Throw down the name. Let me type it into my groups. Jason Henderson. Oh no, that didn't work. Check him out. This one says he's prolific tactical ability and instinctive play against the run, making him an intriguing mid-round prospect. That's NFL Draft Buzz. Don't know if I necessarily trust that. Yeah, those aren't bad, like, some late round options. So they're doing the Isaiah Simmons route. Yeah, some of those players are like in the Isaiah Simmons route, but they're more late round guys. Yeah, Emanwari is more of like the early round one. But it looks like, from what I'm seeing, Emanwari is being like a first round prospect. It feels like they're trying to make like the Derwin James type thing. I just don't think he's a Derwin James level prospect. I think Derwin James played with a different level of physicality and like tackling ability. I do like Emanwari in coverage. I just feel like he was not, for his size, I needed a guy that was a little more physical and willing to get involved versus the run. Yeah, I like David Walker. I'll probably do a video on him eventually. For sure, take the highest rated on prospect at 13. I mean, I'm just taking the best player available at 13. Stewart, yeah. I just think the Dolphins are looking for like if they want, I mean, I don't mind, adding him. I just think he's a day 2 edge. He's just not exactly what I think the Dolphins would be looking for, but his USC film, his USC film is dominant. It's just the rest of his film wasn't that dominant to me. But Stewart from Michigan, man, if you watch his USC film, it was just like they couldn't even block him. And then every other game was kind of not like that, but it was kind of crazy. That was that group. Okay, let me keep going up. Oh, here's the quarterback group. So there's Jackson Dart, which I'm interested to see Dart here, see how he looks. I think it will be big for him. Seth Hennigan, I haven't watched him. Jalen Milroe, another guy this will be huge for him. And then Riley Leonard, who I think Riley Leonard is like, if he plays at the next level, he's going to be like a Taysom Hill quarterback. He's a guy you snap short yardage situations to. But Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, big for them. They're the guys that are like after the top 2 right now that have the highest chance of raising their stock. So might be that the Senior Bowl might be as big for them as it is for anyone. And then the other group is just 3. Really, the only name to keep an eye on here is Dylan Gabriel. He's more of a Dolphins fit style quarterback. We've talked a lot about him. There's also that, I think there's a Canadian quarterback, Taylor Elgersma. I have no idea. But he played in Canada, like in a Canada team, Canadian team. But I've seen some clips, but I have no idea how he'll look. So that'll be interesting to watch. Yeah, I think Emanwari does a lot of good stuff in coverage. Like, I think he's pretty instinctive, like, which I like. Like, I think that gives him a role right away. Like, I think you could still you'll find value for him right away as a coverage guy that can play man and zone, and is versatile there. It's just, I don't think he'll live up to a first round billing if he doesn't play with like more physicality, more downhill, like a more of a downhill play style and get involved with the run. Yeah, J Rose. I'm a big Mukaba fan. Big Mukaba. Like, I would take him round 2, no questions asked. Dolphins have asked on too many O-line because they didn't fit or weren't worth the slot. Yeah, but that's why you pass on offensive linemen, though. You pass, or that's why you pass on players in general. They either don't fit or they're not worth the slot, you know? That's why you got to get problems fixed in free agency and then have the draft be as open as possible so you take best player available. Because they've had that problem before where like they've reached at offensive linemen instead of trying to take just the best player available at other positions, and they've had that problem. Like when they took Austin Jackson at 18, like that was not the best pick they could have made. Same with what's his name, Juwan James. They reached for Juwan James that year. That was a long time ago, but I don't know. I'm just a best player available guy. I don't want to reach on offensive linemen unless they're good enough for the spot. Canada invented the game. Hey, I mean, no disrespect to Canada. Yeah, I mean that 2020 draft could have been like we had 3 first-round picks, and it just felt like they just got desperate with Jackson, and then they also reached for Igbenogany. I don't feel like Castro from Iowa. Yeah, I talked about Castro a little bit earlier, but yeah, I can refresh. I like Castro as like a day 3 guy. He's an older prospect, but very versatile. Pretty much play anywhere in your secondary, but like I think he's like more of like a big nickel, strong safety type, good trigger versus the run, plays downhill, very instinctive versus screens. I think sometimes he'd be over aggressive, but like underneath zone, spatial awareness, he's redirecting stuff. Just a smart player that I never mind having a kind of guy like him on your team, especially if you, because those guys typically end up falling farther than probably should, and you can get decent value on them. Give me the honestly, I have no idea. I've never seen him. I've never seen him play. I don't have Canadian film, so I have no idea if he is actually good or not. Then there's the running back. There's Trevor Etienne. Personally, not too interested. RJ Harvey's pretty interesting, but he's not exactly who I'd go for. Same with Jarquez Hunter. That's in this group. Devin Neal is a guy I really like. Devin Neal is my type of running back. If Devin Neal had a little more burst and speed, like he'd be a top running back in this class. He's just lacking a little bit of that, but like his feet, his vision, his contact balance, like he almost plays like kind of like super under control. Like he's like a less explosive Kamara type, like Alvin Kamara. He has a similar play style, but Kamara is just more athletic. He has more burst and speed. But Neal, he has good hands. I really like Devin Neal from Kansas, just as a player. I don't know if he's exactly what I would look for the Dolphins, but he's just a really good player. And then there's some explosive guys here. Brashard Smith basically played receiver and running back at SMU. Feel like if you were that type of guy, even if like the Dolphins need a bigger back, they'll probably still look at those players just because McDaniel loves them. Same with Marcus Yarns from Delaware. That's one of the most explosive straight line outside zone backs in this class. That's just some of the running backs. Now this group, the other running back group that we'll talk about, has more of the bigger body guys. Ollie Gordon, Damian Martinez, Khalil Mullings, and then Cameron Scatabo. Those are the short yardage guys. I still think Scatabo is like a really good short yardage guy to have in this class. He actually kind of reminds me of a Montgomery type with how he plays, because he's not the tallest. Like he's on the shorter side, but he has good like weight to him in some like solid short area, like left to right. And he just plays with toughness. So like I like Scatabo. It just depends on where he goes. This group also has some other players I like. Like they have Woody Marks from USC, very explosive. I think one of the better running back films I watched in this class. LaQuint Allen from Syracuse, another receiving back that is also interesting. But then there's also like Ollie Gordon, who had a down year, but bigger body from Oklahoma State that I think is interesting. And then Damian Martinez. I think Damian Martinez weighed in at I don't know what I don't know if this is exact, but he's listed at 241, which I think is just too big. But the Dolphins do need some short yardage back, so those are guys to watch out for. Who would be your comp for Genty? Oh, that's tough because he's kind of like I'd have to think about it. I haven't really thought too much about what my Genty comp would be. I've seen some online, but I don't really necessarily like. I've seen like people say like Marshawn Lynch, or I just don't think any of those are like 1-to-1s. I've seen like Kenneth Walker, which is not a. But I think Genty just has a better feel for the game. Yeah, I mean but we've only seen, you've probably only seen like a couple of clips from what's his from that kid, the Canadian kid. What I saw somebody compare him to Brock Osweiler, which honestly I did see like a couple of his throws, like his throwing motion and him being tall, and I'm like, oh, he does kind of look like Brock Osweiler. But I don't have film on him, so I really have no opinion. Like, I've seen clips, but like watching a few clips doesn't really tell me much. Peterson and Tomlinson for me. Yeah, I could see that, but I just don't like to comp people to like Hall of Famers. Tight end class. This group is good. This group right here. There's Jake Brenningstool, the Clemson kid, who I like as a player, but he's not who I think the Dolphins are looking for because he's not your traditional Y, but he's a good route runner. Alabama, CJ Dupree, not a huge fan, but he's in that group. He's not terrible. Thomas Fadone II. He's interesting from Nebraska. He was like a big like time prospect coming out of high school, but I think injuries derailed his career. But if you do watch his film, like you can clearly see he's a great athlete. But the next three, obviously I've talked about these three a lot, the next three. And there's like some of my favorite fits for the Dolphins. Jackson Haas, Gunnar Helm, and Mason Taylor. I mean, Dolphins should be looking at all three of them. They're guys that can play as traditional wide tight ends, can block, be involved in line, and Helm and Taylor can also still be solid receiving threats for you. Both probably day 2 options. Jackson Haas, I could see going like round 3, but I also could see him going day 3 somewhere. Just depends. You never know. With those blocking tight ends, someone falls in love. But he is definitely he's the best blocking tight end I've seen in this class. Those are guys that I think would bring like value to the Dolphins pretty quickly, because I think I would think they would all be upgrades as a Y over like Durham Smythe and Julian Hill. But yeah, those are the 3 I like the most for the Dolphins. Jackson Haas, Gunnar Helm, Mason Taylor as fits. Also, yeah, as you just mentioned, Jason Taylor's kid is Mason Taylor, so Dolphins fit. Get Gadsden Jr. See, he's another Dolphins sort of alum. He's just not what I would be like. He's not a bad player, but he's like a big slot tight end. He's like a Mike Gesicki style tight end. You know, he's a seam pusher, win the ball down the field, run some good routes. He's just not a fit for what the Dolphins do. This other group has some people here, like Elijah Arroyo is a pretty good player, but he's another like seam route running tight end. I like him as a vertical route runner. Not exactly what I'm looking for. Gavin Bartholomew, I need to see more film on him, but I've seen some from Pitt. He's not a bad player either. This group also has Harold Finn Jr. We talked about him. Terrence Ferguson is the guy in this group that I like for the Dolphins because he's like 6'5", 250. He has some blocking ability. He can play Y in line. He also is pretty solid for the catch. He has experience in that like RPO kind of things. Like he ran some similar concepts at Oregon that they ran in for that I think he could run for the Dolphins. Yeah, I like Luke Leitchie as well, but not for the Dolphins. I mean, if he's late round, I don't mind throwing a dagger at him, like throwing a dart at him, because I think he's a good player, a good route runner. I just don't think, from what I've seen, he was struggling with like play strength, point of attack blocking, and I really want like someone that can block to play Y. But say you do take like a Y tight end and then like Leitchie falls because of his injuries, then you take Leitchie as well later, then I would be down. But yeah, it's a good tight end class. Like Leitchie, Gadsden, those would be guys I would take. Like if it was day 3, you already got the tight end you needed and you had some of your other positions filled and they were like the best player available on the board, then I would be down to to take them, but they're not like exact fits. Gatson has much better hands than Gesicki. I mean, Gatson has some amazing hands. And I like him, but I just don't think he fits what the Dolphins are doing. Gesicki has good hands too, though. But I mean, I never really liked Gesicki coming out of college, coming out of Penn State. Like, I was never his biggest fan. This is special teams. What else we got here? That's the linebacker unit. I just went over. Tight ends. Oh yeah, they added Willie Lampkin, North Carolina guy. Very small measurements. Like, that guy has like Aaron Brewer size measurements. But he has some great film out of North Carolina. Will be interesting to see him where he ends up performing and playing. I think that was everyone. Was that all the groups? That was all the groups I saw that they posted on Twitter. Yeah. No, like, I like the Clemson tight end as a prospect, as a player, but not for the Dolphins. He's a good hands, wins above the rim, smooth, fluid mover, but not a blocker. Special teams is another reason to sign Barron. Are you talking about Jade Barron, or the other Barron I talked about, Justin Barron, the Syracuse kid? Because that kid played a bunch of special teams. There's a lot of good special teams players in this class, like Ricky White, who's at the Shrine Bowl, the East-West Shrine Bowl. Ricky White, receiver. I'm pretty sure he's blocked, I don't know the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it was like over 5 punts in his college career. Very good special teams player, Ricky White. And he also, I think, could be a decent like day 3 receiver option. Mason Taylor. I don't think Mason Taylor will be a late round pick. I think Mason Taylor will go on day 2. Jade, yeah. Yeah, Jade could do special teams things for you. Just a versatile playmaker. Thoughts on Prince as a new wide receiver coach? Honestly, I don't really have thoughts. I think when it comes to like positional coaches and stuff like that, I just feel like we really have no idea. Because if you're not in the room and you don't really get to hear them like talk or how they coach, it's very difficult to know how actually good or impactful they are. Because sometimes people that have success, like, there's obviously people that you know about, like, they're highly touted, but like sometimes people have success. It's just the players being good. Sometimes it's the coaches bringing the most out of them, and we just have no idea. I just feel like people are always just like, oh, this was a great signing or something. And I'm like, I have no idea if that's a great signing. I have no idea if he's a good coach or not. I do think that it was smart to make a change. So hopefully he's good. I have no idea, honestly. And it'll probably be the same with whoever we hire as a special teams coach. I probably will have no idea if he's good or not. Because, like, I know people wanted what's his face, the guy that was from the Cowboys as a special teams coach. He used to do the Rams, Bones. That seems like Fossil, right? Fassel. Yeah. When is the combine? I'll look it up. It is late February to early March. So it's like February 27th to the 2nd. I don't really have thoughts on Nick Nash. But from my understanding, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be like a 7th round / UDFA guy. But who knows? But he has played a ton of snaps at San Jose State. Yeah, I don't know if Rizzy wants to come back. That's why I haven't. Like, I don't really usually like have takes like some, and also like when it comes to like GM hires, like if it's a person who's never been a GM, Like I don't know if they'll be a good GM. It's always that's why like I don't really ever give too many thoughts with like coaches and like with like head coaches, like guys who call plays and stuff like that. You can give your thoughts on their scheme because like you can see that, but like with how they are with people and stuff like that, I mean it's impossible to predict. Same with like people who become GMs. It's like I don't know how involved they were with the process. Like obviously you can get an idea from the drafts they were involved in, but you never really know. Dun-dun-dun. Well, yeah, there's definitely guys you can get feels about that are like not being good or being good. I never had the same. Yeah, goal line, special teams, short area stuff. This all those things need to be sort of prioritized. I think the Dolphins need to kind of change their identity a little bit. This year could really go either way in my opinion. Like I think the year it could still go decent, but the Dolphins put themselves in a tough spot where like they have to have a very good offseason to have that happen. So like I could see this sort of season also just falling apart. Like that wouldn't surprise me at all. Like I would say my expectations are just not as high, but like they could easily be fine. But who knows? Because I know like people are because I know people are like pretty divisive about McDaniel nowadays. Because I see people calling him like a horrible coach. Like I think that's my problem now too much with like going on Twitter and like seeing people's takes from the fans. It's people are either great or horrible. It's never any in between. There's never any nuanced discussion. There's never any like I don't think McDaniel's horrible. I think I've talked about the things he needs to work on, but I don't think if you're horrible you win as many games as he has, or would have a top offense like he has. Like clearly there's some things, and maybe there's some stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about. Who knows? With like how the team perceives him, I have no idea. That's why I just try not to comment on it too much. But it's definitely on the line this season for them. Yeah, this is a tight end class that I go for. Way too many good tight ends. I don't think Mason Taylor goes before Ward, Loveland, Finn, and Helm or Ferguson. He should be definitely. I don't think. I mean, personally, I have Taylor above Fannin and Ferguson. I have him above Ferguson for sure, just overall. Like I think he's just a better player than Ferguson. And then I have him above Fannin for the Dolphins. Mason Taylor film's good. Like he blocks, he gets the job done as a receiver. He's athletic, plays with physicality. He's got really, really good hands. I don't really see any like weaknesses to Taylor's game, and he has like, which like some scouts and coaches love. He has NFL pedigree in that family. He is better than yeah. I mean, like it's just people go so like because like 1 week they'll consider, and this is not even just about McDaniel. This could be about the quarterback. It could be about a specific player. It could be about anyone. 1 week someone's amazing, and the next week they're horrible, and it's just like it's just so boring. Reason I see it. Oh yeah, I mean I don't really want to go on any of those things anyways. Not like the big panels, I don't know. I mean, I'd be down to talk football with people. It's just I feel like I don't know. Sometimes I go on other people's shows, but I don't get invited that much. I don't really care. To be fair, I've never invited anyone on mine. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely weaknesses to McDaniels, but there's definitely strengths. It's just like I've seen some people be like or I've seen people call him Adam Gase or worse than Adam Gase, and I'm like, okay, guys, like, what are we doing here? Let's be real. Like, no way we watched Adam Gase. Ugh. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how this season plays out. It's definitely career in McDaniel's time. Like, I think it really comes down to like if they win a playoff game, obviously they stay around. Like that's something we need. They obviously would stick if they won a playoff game. I think if they don't make the playoffs, they get fired. Now I think if they make the playoffs and lose, it depends on how the season sort of goes and how that game goes. You know, I think I could see a world where they would still get fired, but also I could see a world where they still would stay if they made the playoffs and lost right away. I think it depends on like how close the game was, what were the circumstances leading up to it. But that's probably, I think, the chances are they would probably get fired because you look at the odds. We haven't won a playoff game in like 20 something years. Kind of crazy. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like it could very much get worse. It probably would get, if we do, I will say this, if we do restart, it will get worse, at least in the intermediate, because the Dolphins are not, I don't think, in a position to like fully reset and then be good within a year. Like I think if they fully reset, it would take like a couple years to get potentially back up, and they would have to get lucky too. They'd have to get like a high draft pick to get a QB that would give them a chance, and then they would also have to have the right coaching. And they'd have to like reset the roster, because this roster is so fit for McDaniel's scheme, at least offensively, that like unless you bring in someone that's still in like that sort of same type of like Shanahan style system, you probably have to like rebuild a lot of those players, especially on like the O-line and some of the weapons. Yeah, probably true. Ross wanted the future by possibly denying an upfront money for certain restructures. I think it's possible, but knowing Ross, I do feel like Ross is willing to spend that money. He's willing to try to win now, but I think it will be interesting to see how this offseason plays out once like we're actually able to get to free agency, and we'll see what sort of restructures they do, who they set as like a June 1st cuts, because there's a lot of different options that they have, and like we even talked about earlier, like there's an out in like a Kendall Fuller's contract, and we'll see what happens with Armstead. Bradley Chubb is a decision. Like, do you want to keep Bradley Chubb? Do you want to just completely restructure, or even just a new contract completely, whatever, or cut him June 1st? Because like I see a world like he would save like the most money, but I also see a world like why we'd want to keep Bradley Chubb, because you keep Chubb, edge is just like, I feel like if you keep Chubb, edge is just your strongest position group, right? Like Chubb, Phillips, Chop. Like it doesn't really, like if they're healthy, right? It's like that's your best group, and you don't have to worry about it. And it's such an important position, but it's like, man, we do need that money. Everyone hits, yeah. It just depends on like, people are gonna have misses for everyone misses. I think it just depends on like the kind of misses people have and how often it happens, that you go like, okay, I just don't trust certain people's opinions. I think as long as people put in the work and you show why you feel that way, and a lot of times misses aren't necessarily the person getting it wrong. Like you weren't wrong about like their play style or like how good they were going to be. That you just never had a chance to meet them, and maybe they didn't give a shit about football and they just didn't turn out as good as they want because it was just a mindset thing. And like, how are we supposed to know that? Or they just went, I think a lot of players that end up being like busts just end up in the wrong place. If they went to a different team, they could have found a lot more success. Like where you end up like positioning wise for as a player, like with coaching and stuff like that, matters so much for like how players turn out. What role do you see Mo Kamara has with this defense going forward? I mean, that's tough to say because we didn't get to see him play at all. I think he's still probably a part of the plans. But I just think he'll probably just be like a depth rotational guy that would see playing time if there was injuries, multiple injuries. But I think he'll probably be as like your like fifth guy probably next year. Because it depends who they bring back as well. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get like Quinn Bell back. Because Bell did bring some like interesting, like he was playing pretty good at the end of the season. He'll be cheap. He's still athletic. He can play special teams. He can be like one of the few edges that can actually drop into coverage on your team as well. I think it just depends on who they bring back, and if Chubb's back, does he actually get playing time? Tua lost the season for us with his injury. I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, it's more than that, but I mean that's like a very base level way of looking at it. It's on a lot of people, but yeah, obviously Tua staying healthy would very much help. We could get Warren White, Besh, and draft good trade and guard offense set up very well. Yeah, that would help out the offense a lot. I mean, that would change the offense like whole identity. But we do need a lot of defensive help, so I don't know. It depends like where I guess, but you would have to like use like your first 3 picks on those guys. I guess it's what you went after in defense and free agency, but the defense needs help at D tackle, safety, corner, off-ball linebacker, potentially edge, almost every position. Yeah, I would have liked to see more Mo as well. Can we extend HN this year? I think you can. I don't know if they will. I don't think you need to. And honestly, I feel like if HN starts doing some receiver stuff, that probably will raise his line. He might not even want an extension yet. But I don't think the Dolphins should be too worried about that, because if you really look at us, like usually when you're looking at teams and players you need to extend, you look at your draft picks, right? HN is really the only player out of the next like the 2 drafts before this, the last one, that is going to be the one that sticks around, and he's a running back, so it's not like you need to pay him like insane amount of money anyways. So I don't think the Dolphins should be too worried about future extensions with the players they've drafted until they get to like Chop, which is a long time away, because everyone else was either not on the team or not deserving of an extension. How can we reach you if you want to contact you? On Twitter, you can DM me. Ryder M25. People want to DM me on Twitter. That's usually how people can respond to me, or just message in the YouTube comments. Ty Dot back, yeah. I think bringing Ty Dot back is a good idea, at least as a third linebacker, because he should come back pretty cheap, and you're going to have to ignore some positions. There's going to be something like the Dolphins do not have enough resources to put a ton of like into every position. You're not going to be able to draft high at all of the positions. You're not going to be able to spend decent money at every position. There's going to be some position where you're weak, and off-ball linebacker, I think, is one where that's a decent chance, because it's kind of been that way for a long time. They got Brooks last year. You at least have Brooks. They probably feel like, hey, we can roll with a whatever second one. Makari, yeah. Shout out Makari. He went to Westlake High School. No thanks to Duke Riley. Westlake High School, which I always had my best games against Westlake. Yeah, okay. So yeah, after the 3rd year. I was thinking it was into their 3rd year that you could extend them. So no, you can't extend HN anyways. But I wouldn't do it anyways if you could. Yeah, it's time to move on from Riley for sure. I would move on from Tyndall too, but I wouldn't. If you do keep Tyndall, you should use him like almost like if you look at Jalen Walker from Georgia. They both, I mean, Tyndall played at Georgia as well. But look how Jalen Walker is used at Georgia, where he plays like a hybrid role, like edge / linebacker. That's what Tyndall needs to play, because I don't think he can play true off-ball linebacker. He doesn't have the instincts for it. Tyndall is his best playing downhill. Just let him play downhill, not worry about anything else. Don't drop him into coverage. Maybe you can have him carry someone like down the field vertically, but like he shouldn't be just reading anyone's eyes, trying to think too much. Just give him one responsibility and have him play if he's going to play. Because he's got athleticism to play and he's got physicality. And when he's looked his best, like in the preseason, is when he was blitzing. So to me, if you're ever going to like try to figure him out, it should be that. But I don't have faith, to be honest. Hot take, I think Jalen Walker's overrated. I'm tired of that highlight where he falls down and somehow trips the QB. I'm not as high on Jalen Walker as some other people either. I don't think he's a bad first round prospect, but I just don't think he's like top 8 from what I've seen from other people. Wyatt Millum or Will Campbell? Well, Will Campbell, but Will Campbell's gonna be a first rounder, and Millum's in the second or third. Um, I talked about Fannin a lot earlier, but quick recap: I don't like Fannin personally for the Dolphins. I don't think he has the size to hold up as a Y tight end at the next level, and that's what the Dolphins need. Yeah, dude. And if you were here for that, I know I wasn't. Was I making? No, I made videos right after. I started making videos around that draft time. Around that, that's like when I started making videos. Was after that, like at the start of that year. But like I talked about it, and I made a what's it called video? Leo Chenal. I made a video on him before that draft, a film breakdown, and I said like I liked Leo Chenal. I even said in like when I talked about Tyndall, I was like I liked Leo Chenal more than Tyndall, and the Dolphins passed on Leo Chenal, and Leo Chenal went one pick after us to the Chiefs, and Leo Chenal has been a very solid player for the Chiefs, and he's just a very good run defender. Gets the job done. Mock draft Mondays. That's a pretty good idea. I might do some of that. I'm definitely gonna do some like mock draft streams, but I will definitely do like a mock draft video. I don't know if I'll do it like every Monday, but yeah, I guess I could do it up to like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, whatever, until we get to the draft. But I'll probably do that once I have to do 7 rounds. I have to actually like watch more players because once you start getting those mocks, where you start to get to like 5th, 6th, 7th round, it's like, oh, a lot of these players on the board I haven't seen. But that's not a bad idea. And the mock draft simulator, I haven't done any this year, so I don't know which simulator is the best to use right now. But in the past, I've used like PFNs and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm always down to trade down. It's always much easier said than done to trade down, because it always, as I've said, it takes 2 to tango. Sometimes people just don't make you good offers. But I do like trading down. Yeah, yeah. There's usually like some players in the 6th and 7th that I'm like, oh, I recognize this guy. Might as well throw it on there. Want to do a mock draft right now? What's the best simulator right now? Is Pro Football Network a good one? I don't even know if they still have one. I haven't done any this year. What is for eats for the games today? I don't think we have. I do have like. I definitely have like. I have like some like chips and stuff. Some sour cream and onion dip with like Ruffles. Fritos and bean dip. As like snack food. I don't know what we're eating though. I just order pizza. I don't think Starks is too small. I mean, he's on the leaner side, but I won't say he's too small. Guys, you mock draft database, you want me to do that? You will never see me talking about any punter. I'm not taking a punter in a mock draft. I feel like you kind of have to be kind of insane to click on a punter in a mock draft. Let me see this. How do I do? Oh, look at all these ads. Is it gonna give me my comp picks? Let's go fast. Okay. Sure this is on. I know you guys can't see it yet. We got 13, 48, 98, 114, 113. Okay, it's 7 rounds. I mean, we'll see how long we can go until, you know, falls apart. Out of here. Okay, let's go. No, I'm not doing trades. I can't do trades. Let's see. Okay, well this is... Okay, before I show you guys, we go here, but okay, Ted McMillan's on the board. Now this is why I don't like doing mock drafts, because like I don't think Ted McMillan's gonna be there, so I just feel like I should not take him. So what should I do? Do I take Ted McMillan here? I'm not taking Michael Williams. Genty, Starks, Warren, Walker. I feel like these are the names because you have McMillan, obviously, Warren, Walker. I mean, I like some other guys, but I don't think they should be in the combo. Let me see what you guys are saying. I have to switch screens real quick. Do I just ignore McMillan? Because like I don't think he's going to be there. Or do I just take McMillan? Don't take Ted? Yeah. Because Ted's not going to be there. I want this to be kind of realistic. You got the wrong one? I mean, if he was there, I would take him. In this scenario, probably. McMillan's just good. No, I mean, I just don't like doing trade downs because trade downs feel super unrealistic in these types of mock drafts. Honestly, if this was the board, I think I would take and not consider. Okay, fuck it, whatever. Okay. In this scenario, let's just take McMillan because he's here. But if McMillan wasn't here, and then I don't know who else went, so someone else would be on the board. But like they had Mason Graham go 12. Mason Graham would not go 12. If it was like between these guys, honestly, I think I would take Tyler Warren because all the old linemen are gone. I'm not a big Michael Williams fans. I think I'm like Genty is in consideration, but I'm not going there. I think I would take Warren, but we're just gonna take McMillan because why not? That's an A. Cool. 3 trade offers. Interesting. See, and look who's here. Armand Membo. 48. And Daniel Jeremiah's mock, he has Membo going 11th. I mean, and then also Jonas Savania, Wyatt Millum. These are all guys to consider. Xavier Watts. I mean, why not? I'm just taking Membo. I'm cheating. A and A plus. I mean, if this is the draft, I mean, and you, to be fair, I guess this isn't impossible. I've seen some crazy shit happen on draft day and people fall way farther than expected. But this feels like I'm cheating. So I've got a receiver. I've got a big body receiver. And I've got an O-lineman. So, oh my God, look at the options here. Barrett Carter, Jordan Birch, not bad. Kevin Winston Jr. at 98 is a good value for safety. Gray Zabel's pretty good value. Tez Johnson, Carson Schwessinger. David Walker. I think I would take Winston Jr. My God. I feel like it's being too nice. I never A plus. And now I'm at 114. If I knew what I did with if I in free agency, did I attack O-line or did I attack linebacker? Gray, Zabel, or Schlesinger. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna say we went guard in free agency, so now we have the whole line figured out, and we get Schlesinger. Nope. Then we get our big body running back, DJ Giddens. We're starting to get to players that maybe I haven't quite seen. I'm just taking people at the top of the board. There's some steals here. Like, I like all these people, but I feel like we need D-line, so let's go Ty Robinson. We go quarterback. That's when we get Gabriel. Boom. Robinson was my first B because I reached. Oh yeah, I guess I never took tight end, huh? That's the one of it. It's a position I ignored, and I have been taking. I've been thinking of taking tight end in every scenario. That's what I get for going too fast, huh? Who's the tight ends left? It's all horrible. The fuck? Take me to the top. Okay, so now we're at the part where like I don't know people. I mean, I'll take Darius Alexander because I think that's not that bad value. Take Woody Marks because I like him. We'll go Mullings because he's a bigger back. Even though we already took one bigger back, might as well take two. And then we'll take Brennan Adams, corner, because I've seen him. Pretty good. GM of the year. Dude, if this was the draft, God, that would be insane. That'd be such an insane draft. It's just so unrealistic. That's why I usually don't do mocks. Yeah, I went Schlesinger. Who was it? Was Schlesinger or who? Zabel? Yeah, I already had Membo, and I feel like, I don't know. Zabel wouldn't be a back pick, but I looked at him I'm thinking about it. We probably took a guard in free agency. I already got one alignment, so that means we have all our starters. Schlesinger could realistically start for the Dolphins next to Brooks. Armand is a reach at 48? In what world? That was the biggest steal I had at 48. I just don't think any of those people would be. I don't think. Let's see who would. I think there's a world where Schlesinger could have been there with that 4th round pick. I think that's fine. I don't think any of the first 3 picks would have been there either. Like the first pick, McMillan's not going to be there. I guess it's possible, but I don't think he's going to be there. Membo's not going to be there at 48. And then Winston, I guess, because the injury could be there at 98, but I think he's going to go somewhere earlier than that. If McMillan and Warren are there at 13, I think you just take McMillan because I have McMillan as one of the higher grades in this class. I have them actually pretty close. It's just McMillan is a freak, and I think gonna be really good. You should not be built at that size and move like that. And he complements Waddle really well. I really like Warren. Warren is one of my favorite options out of the most realistic guys. Just insane. Oh. Giraffe. I mean, yeah, he's a giraffe that moves very well, solid hands. But that would be it also kind of, I guess I don't know. I just feel like you take best player available. So even if if Tyreek doesn't get traded, you still take him because it's you're also, the draft is built for you're building for the future. You're also not just building for the next year. Look at last year's draft. Last year's draft, they took Patrick Paul in the second round, but they took Patrick Paul as like a future pick, right? Because he wasn't taken. He was taken to be like maybe play a little bit as a rookie, which he did. He played a little bit, but he was more taken to be like, okay, he's going to be our tackle once Armstead retires. And that was your second round pick. And even Chop was kind of almost a future pick if, Phillips didn't get hurt. And, Chubb was able to come back healthy, but obviously he had to play pretty quickly. And he got up to speed in that second half of the season. McMillan is just too good, I think, to pass up on at 13, even if you have Tyreek around. Plus, he does bring a little more physicality to your team. And it's like, even if Tyreek were to stick around, it's not like he's going to be here much longer than this past year. He'll probably be gone. And if he sticks around this next year, I imagine he'd be gone the next. And I think it's the best thing to just draft best player available. So even if we were to start over, McMillan's going to be great from no matter who the coach is. Armstead needs to retire post June 1st. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure, I don't know how that all works, but definitely need the money from Armstead. What about Cam Smith? Honestly, I don't think it's going to work out. I think Cam Smith is still talented. It's just sometimes you just get unlucky to start your career, and he's had a lot of injuries, and he has just not seemed to mentally pick up on things as quick as you would want. I need to see like a list of the Dolphins like potential restructures, because I can do it like kind of off the top of my head. Like I think well, let's see. I think Tua is pretty likely to be restructured. Let's see. I think Armstead just gets post June 1st or whatever, I think that's more likely for Armstead. And I think the same thing for Chubb. That's where I think I'm leaning what they are going to do. I think Chubb could still get restructured and they want to keep him. I still think he could potentially contribute, but Armstead and Chubb are like sort of the bigger names that you can actually save like a decent amount. Like I'm pretty sure Armstead saves you like 15 million against the cap by releasing post June 1st, and then it looks like Chubb is around 19 from what I'm seeing. I think they'll probably cut Raheem Mostert. Same with Durham Smythe. I think you should let them go. You save a little bit of cash, and they both didn't really contribute last season, and it's time to move on, get younger, let Jalen Wright take over for Mostert, even though I think Mostert's not so bad. And then Durham Smythe was giving you absolutely nothing. So, and I'm trying to add at tight end anyways. Apparently, we would save 1.4 million by releasing Channing Tindall. So, buy Channing Tindall. So let's save 1.4 million. But Tua restructure, it looks like, would be save you a decent amount. I don't know how that works though with like totally moving stuff. Yeah, I agree. Mostert and Wilson move on. Let's see what else is here. It also looks like from this article I'm reading, it looks like Austin Jackson could potentially be restructured because he has a base salary of about 11 million and his cap number is about 13.5. It looks like they say that you could about get that in half with a restructure or extension. And he's coming off the knee injury, so maybe. And then I think Sealer, right? I don't know what Ramsey's is like. I'm not seeing anything on Ramsey. But I'm pretty sure Sealer has enough to where you can potentially move some of this stuff around, save like at least a few million. And or Connor can go too, yeah. I mean, I don't know what Connor's going to save you, though. Not much. Tua only if you are positive you're keeping him. Well, that's the thing. I think they're pretty positive. Like the GM and the coach are like, this is our best chance to stick around is with Tua. Because they're not thinking like, at least in this short term, in like the next like 2 seasons, Tua is giving them the best chance to like save their jobs. Like unless they end up with like the number 1 overall pick in 2026, which if that does happen, their jobs will be gone. You know? What about fullback keeper cut? Oh yeah, I guess if they find someone cheaper than Engel that they think could be like as good, but I feel like McDaniel's going to want to keep a fullback. Tua, Achan Wright, Engel, Hill, Waddle, Malik, Taj, Janu, Rucci, Paul Brewer, AJ. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't mind keeping. I mean, some of those guys, I don't care if they're there or not, like Hines or Hayes. But I mean, I don't mind keeping them for training camp, see what happens. Um, but yeah, I don't know if Hill will be here or not, but we'll see. It seems like the way he's been talking that he's still. I don't know. That's one thing that like I'm just gonna see how it plays out because I could feel like it could get worse. And I'm pretty sure there's, yeah, we talked about there. I think there's like an out, and from what I saw, there might be an out in Fuller's contract. So I wonder if they do that. Just because Fuller was so injured this year, it wasn't like he was playing bad. It's just maybe they go somewhere else in free agency or something like that. Who knows? Corner is a position where I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know. Yeah, I mean Hayden Rucci might get a shot. I don't personally. I've seen a lot of like hype for Hayden Rucci from some people in the fan base. I don't like. I don't mind like having Rucci around and being like a practice squad guy, maybe end of the roster tight end. It's just I'm personally not expecting that much from him. Yeah, that's any more questions for that? Because that was the whole like Senior Bowl guys I talked about, obviously. See, but I don't even know if Rucci would have been better than Julian Hill because if you watch Julian Hill in the preseason, Julian Hill was better in the preseason than Rucci was in the preseason as like a blocker. At least in my opinion. I mean, I'm saying it was like way better, but like I feel like Julian Hill had higher level reps than Rucci. And we only saw Rucci in preseason. No thanks on Howard. Howard's time has simply ended. Yeah. I will have a lot of draft film breakdowns out this week coming out. I already recorded Jacob Parrish and Naeus Peebles. I'm going to do guys like Jalen Noel, maybe some running backs that are at the Senior Bowl, like Cam Scatabo or Devin Neal. Trying to get to Senior Bowl guys like Bahal Cone. I'll try to find some other ones as well. Bray Zabel, things like that. Boom.